money's coming in above your goal, does that immediately get released to your account?
It can take some time. With Indiegogo, I experienced, we had a nonprofit who had multiple campaigns, and so they received the money and then transferred it to us, and it took some time, took more time. And before that, the campaign before that, that took about 10 to 12 days. And then before that, it would take about 5. So there's quite a bit of transfer time it takes.
I want to mention real quick that if you have a gadget, the patent office has just created this thing called micro submittals, where it's down to $60 to submit for a provisional patent. And you can do 4 of those in a lifetime. So that, if it's a gadget of some sort you're worried about having patent pending, is always a good thing to have.
Okay. Luke? I have a question for Brooks around the campaign you guys did for Otter 501, because you made a mention of a part that's a little different way to think about crowdfunding, which is not just as a way to get money in the door, but also as a way to do essentially advertising to get publicity for your product. Can you say a little bit about how that works for you?
Well, I mean, you've got to look at it as another marketing channel for you, and it's a way to reach out to your audience and get feedback. And as I mentioned, corporations spend millions of dollars on focus groups and test campaigns, and this basically is a tool that you can access for free. So view it as an ancillary channel to what you're doing with your normal marketing, but one that can also drive revenue to you. And again, I'll repeat what I said before. It may not be perfect in this sense for funding a company, given all the issues that Jim talked about, but it's certainly a way to validate your product or your idea and get to a beta, if you will, with some real market validation behind it.
I see you, this one here, if you haven't.
Yeah, the difference between rewards and gifts. Have you had an experience just asking for gifts? What percentage of people will donate just on a gift? And then how many want something in return?
My experience on that, Michael, is, I think that's Michael.
That's Michael.
Good to see you, Michael. I think it's about 50-50. There's people out there that will just love your idea and say, give me nothing. If they love your idea, if you have a compelling story. Once again, we've seen that quite a bit, especially in the apparel industry. They just think it's a cool design, and they don't want anything in return. And then for as the reward, for $25, they could care less. So but it's a situation that could be case-by-case basis, and we do see a lot of people that never claim their donation or their reward.
Here's an idea that I used about rewards or perks. It's built in that you build, that you pick a name for the perk and how much, and then you describe it. What we did, our most common donation was a ticket to the premiere of the movie, and it was $25. And so we basically pre-sold our ticket sales from our one premiere, and that's how we made the film. And we gave them the film that they paid for.
Back to you, sir.
The Jobs Act itself it sounds like it's largely a legal rule structure. I think, is there any actual federal funding that was attached to that for small businesses?
No, there's none. The Jobs Act itself is basically a bunch of rule changes. But there's no funding. But it's interesting to think about it this way, from the market end and showing your due diligence and showing your work and being able to position yourself in a strong position. And we saw this in Boston the last few days ago that I mentioned earlier, where we had a lot of venture capital and private equity people, and we had different rooms set so they could go, people do pitches to them. Well, there were some people that got funded or commitments for funding, based on all the work that they'd put together in doing their Kickstarter campaigns. They had good budgets, they were showing a commitment, so do not underestimate it. It carries such a huge leverage by doing these campaigns.
Okay, this gentleman here, we'll go to you next.
I understand the concept of Kickstarter and Indiegogo, but with this crowdfunding campaign, who are we actually soliciting money from? Are we asking the general public, our friends, and how do we start that campaign?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody.
You start with who you know and work your way out, right?
Yeah. There's some good research coming out of Wharton on how this works and what works. And one of the number one things that they found in making a successful campaign was the size of the requesters' Facebook contacts. The more Facebook contacts you have, the more likely you're to be successful. So I think you really got to look there.
It's an interesting point on that, if I just add to
Oh, no, go
that,
ahead.
Lou, sorry. And, boy, that's a big point, right? And also LinkedIn. Do not underestimate LinkedIn because you got a different audience there.
It's a business audience.
You got a business audience there.
Yes.
So build your groups in LinkedIn, and they're going to be more receptive to your ideas from the business side. So.
I have a hot tip about Facebook. Have any of you ever tried to send a bulk email to many of your Facebook friends? Can't be done.
Yeah.
You can't have multiple recipients in a message on Facebook. So the workaround is to invite them to a Facebook group. And then every time anybody or you post in that Facebook group, they get notifications in that. And that's equivalent to a message in their inbox. So that's the workaround.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that point. The people that are going to contribute to your Kickstarter campaign, by definition, want it to succeed. And they know it's not going to succeed if you don't hit the goal. So they become your advocates. So one of the things about Kickstarter that's very unique is your pledgers become your sales force. Because once they've made their pledge, they're invested in making it succeed. So,
I had applied to Kickstarter and I got rejected.
I'm sorry?
I applied to Kickstarter and I got rejected. They told me that my product or my startup did not meet their design or technology requirements.
Try someone else. That's true. I've had the same thing with Kickstarter. But there are so many sites out there, there will be somebody who your stuff will fit, almost certainly.
Look at Rocket Hub.
Rocket Hub?
Yes.
Okay, to this lady here.
Or FundMe.
Yeah.
FundMe.com.
How successful are service-based companies, startups that use the internet sites like Kickstarter as opposed to product-based
Good question.
ideas?
Well, all the creative arts people that are on Kickstarter, authors, painters, writers, film goers, they're all in the services business, I would say.
I would say the majority of the funds being raised through Kickstarter would qualify or be classified under the service industry.
Did you have a particular service you're thinking about?
No. The woman next to me, hers was a homeless shelter, I believe. I thought it was so interesting how that would do.
Well, yeah, there you've got the social play, which
Yeah.
should play really well, actually, on the donation model.
And you can make a great pitch video with a lot of great visuals of that.
And there's social crowdfunding websites out there already, so you
exactly.
just gotta find one of those.
Sir, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there are any comments on how green and/or agricultural proposals do on these type of sources, sites? Are they gonna make much impact there, or this is not really the right place for that kind of thing?
Go for it.
Yeah, I would say it's not so much the topic that you're talking about, it's how much of a network do you have that you're confident in that you could go out and approach and get invested in what you're doing. That's the way it works, is really finding an audience that's going to be receptive and turning that audience into your spokesperson or spokespeople.
Well, the reason I brought it up is Monterey County and agricultural background and so forth, so trying to make a connection here
on that note, there's an ag, I'm trying to remember the exact name of it. On LinkedIn, there's a group that is all about funding ag projects around the world. And given what I know about your project with the Jatropha, if you send me an email, I'll send you the link to that group, because you should be on it.
May I add, what Brooke said is absolutely right on. It's just your network and the level of your creativity in pitching it. I mean, so that's a great thing about this crowdfunding. It's your imagination and your network.
Okay, let's take 2 more questions, and then we will ask the panelists if they have any wrap-up comments. Sir, up there.
Yeah, are you limited? Can you do multiple campaigns on different sites?
Yes, you can.
You can, so they don't make you sign or just limit you to their one site?
No, you can, and we're sending a lot of great play out of Sweden sites. Skype, if you're interested, the co-founder of Skype was a speaker at our event in Boston a couple of days ago, and they've got some great stuff. And do not overlook the Asian market. The Asian market, their sites picking up, just coming out of the woodwork there.
Paul?
I have heard some speculation by traditional investors that if a project went to crowdfunding first, they would not be as inclined to look at it for venture capital or other funding like that. Is that still a turnoff in some of the investment circles?
Just a few days ago, I mentioned in Boston at the event that we did in Boston with Reuters, it was a positive 5 days ago. Early on, because I didn't understand it, but now the angels and adventurers are seeing this as a vetting process. So I think they're becoming more receptive to it.
I think all of our experience is that if a VC thinks an idea is a good one, they're going to fight each other for it. Okay, let's go to the panel. Just start with Brooks. Any comments or wrap-up statements you'd like to leave us with?
No, I just think it's a wonderful tool, and it's growing, and it's a great opportunity to test your market and get some very low-cost feedback.
Yeah, it's the same, and what's really intriguing me about this conversation is how much it is worth thinking about crowdfunding, not just as, or maybe even not primarily as a source of funding, but as a place to test, as a place to let the world know about what you're doing and raise money doing it at the same time. So to think about it differently than going to the bank to get a loan or going to a venture investor to get money.
Tim?
I'm going to reinforce my Reg D 506. Okay, that is a big deal. So stay tuned to that. Once that thing is ready to go, it's going to be very exciting. And the feedback that we were getting in Boston a few days ago with a lot of the private, they cannot wait. When that's done, you're going to see a lot of businesses start raising first private placement, and then that will flow into the what's called IPO on route, which is already in place now.
I would encourage you, if you're serious about this, to go to Indiegogo or Kickstarter and look at the campaigns and look for a campaign that is similar to yours and model something that works. Nobody's going to know because you can't be exactly like them. But you can see what people have done in the past who've come before you, and you can steal their ideas. We all do, and it works, and you can do it too.
Okay, if you have more questions, we're going to have a little informal reception in the outer lobby, and please join us for that. You're welcome to meet any of the panelists individually and introduce yourselves and talk to them. Before you go, please give them your enthusiastic appreciation for their participation. And thank you all for coming this afternoon.
Hey man, long time no see.
I know.
What's that?
I didn't even recognize.
I know. I think last time we met, I probably had long hair.
Yeah.
Or I would have had not quite this short of hair, I guess.
No, it looks good though.
Yeah. No, this semester.
Okay, I was like, okay.
Yeah. It's been around for a long time. Yeah, we were. I was a little discordic. That was cool though, man. I was like, I didn't know what to expect. I just knew I was doing sound for it.